about others, but for me, there was at least one moment in the last week where I could really clearly see, like, there was the virtuous choice and there was the non-virtuous choice. And I could choose the non-virtuous choice. That would be very, perhaps, satisfying in the short term. But it probably most likely wouldn't have panned out. And then I had to make a real effort to be like, what is... At first, I didn't see the virtuous choice clearly, but I had to make like a real effort to be like, okay, what would a virtuous person do in this case? What has a virtuous person done in my case? And then I had to consciously make that choice. And then life and this community unfolded in a smooth, harmonious, non-eventful manner. But if I did the other thing, it would have been very different. Yes, Koshin?
What kind of situation?
Yes. Okay. So that night when like Story grilled me about being in my head, and then afterwards I was just like irritable and trying to train Buddha to be head monk sub, and I was just like super, like, it was just like very angry and agitated. And at one point she was like, I don't think you're ready to train me right now, and then she just left. And at that moment, I was like I could feel more angry. I was like, yeah, I definitely sensed a lot of ill will. And I was imagining like telling Autumn, no, I can't work with her as a deputy head monk, like all this stuff. And I was like, wait, no, that doesn't seem. And then I remember, that there was a moment when Soryu just showed a lot of faith in me. Like I did something pretty egregious, and yet he said, well, this is one more data point we'll factor into the thousands of interactions we've had already in the past. And I just remember that moment of like someone showing faith in me. I was like, well, what if I did something like that? And I turned all that ill will and that wrong view around. And the next day, I went up to her and I apologized for being, for being like irritable in that moment and trying to do better to work on work on managing anger. And then we hugged, and it was really sweet. And then life went on, and the community continued to function, as well as the other possible future. So, yeah, that's.
I would say you were more than just irritable.
Anyway.
Renshin said, I would say you were more than just a little irritable.
Yeah, it's extremely irritable.
You said anger, and I admire you for owning that and sharing this story.
Thank you.